Okay, so now I'm going to go over the homework and the answers to each one of these. In number one, it says an educator wants to compare the effectiveness of computer software for teaching biology with that of a textbook presentation. She gives a biology pretest to each of the groups of high school juniors, then randomly divides them into two groups. One group uses the computer and the other studies the text. At the end of the year, she tests all the students again and compares the increase in biology test scores in the two groups. Is this an observational study or an experiment? Justify your answer. This is an experiment because a treatment is imposed. The way that we say whether or not it's an experiment or observational study is whether there's a treatment that's imposed or already taking place. In this one, a treatment is imposed, whether they're studying the computer or studying the text. So that is an experiment because of that. The next one, a university in Finland wanted to study whether chocolate consumption during pregnancy had effects on the infant's temperament. So in this one, there are 305 healthy pregnant women, and they report their chocolate consumption. And then 6 months after birth, they rate their child's happiness or level. It says, was this an observational study or an experiment? This was for sure an observational study. A treatment was not imposed. The women were already eating chocolate. So they not only reported their chocolate eating level, but then also the temperament of their babies. In B, it says, what was the explanatory and response variable? Well, the explanatory variable would be the chocolate consumption, and the response is always what you measure, like what is measured at the end. In here, what was measured was the temperament at 6 months old. In C, does the study show that eating chocolate regularly during pregnancy helps produce infants with good temperament? Explain. The answer to that is definitely no. Only experiments can give evidence of causation, like a cause and effect relationship. This is not an experiment. So there's really no way that we can say that chocolate causes infants to have a better temperament. Okay, number 3, effective class sizes. Do smaller classes in elementary school really benefit students? So what they do is an observational study, it says it right in it. It compares the students who happen to be in smaller and larger classes in their early childhood years. Identify a variable that may lead to confounding with the effects of small classes. Explain how confounding might occur. So a confounding variable is something that plays a part in the background of the study. It's not right there in the front of the study, but definitely affects the results of the study. So in this one, the schools that already have offered small class sizes might be different in some way from others that didn't. There could be more money allocated, different programs, etc. with those small class sizes. We could be looking at private schools versus non-private schools. Regardless, the main idea with the confounding variable is that those smaller class sizes might be indicative of some other variable in the background, not necessarily just the class sizes. Okay, in number 4 and 5, what we're doing there, and I know 5 is confusing because it also asks a question that we're not going to actually take into consideration, but what we're doing here is we're identifying the experimental units, the explanatory and response variables, and then the treatments that are going on. So in this first one, there is, they're wondering if these pine seedlings grow better so they're looking at like a dry climate, and what kinds of soils or lights, what kind of lights do they do better in. So it says here that they are going to all go into a greenhouse, and they'll either be in full light reduced to 25%, and then light to 5% of normal. At the end of the study, they're going to dry the young trees and weigh them. So the experimental units are actually pine seedlings here, pine seedlings. The explanatory variable is like overarching, what do we care about? Well, here it's the percentage of light, the percentage of light. The response is always what they measure at the end. So the thing that they're measuring at the end here is the dried weight of the plant. And there are actually 3 treatments in this one. The 3 treatments are 100% light, 25% light, where they put it in shade, and then they add even more shade. There's going to be a third treatment option, which is 5% light. Okay, and number 5. So in this one, it says, will cash bonuses speed the return of work of an unemployed people or person? Okay, So in this one, they were giving bonuses for $500 for anybody who got a job within 15 weeks. And so let's identify first the things I did put, like, well, because it asks, well, what's the problem with this? And I'll talk about that in a minute. But the experimental units are the people on unemployment. Those are the people that are on unemployment. Those are the experimental units. The explanatory is people who filed a claim for unemployment. That's going to be the explanatory variable. Whereas, and actually I should put explanatory, people who filed a claim for unemployment plus $500, and then they get $500 if they get a job within 15 weeks. Okay, because that's who we're looking at. They get a job within 15 weeks. The response is the percent who found a job within 15 weeks. That's what we're measuring at the end. The treatment is $500 extra for people who found a job in 15 weeks. So it asks here, what's like the possible problem? The problem in any experiment is that when this happens is that there's no comparison group. You have to have a comparison group. So you would have to, in this experiment, actually only offer the $500 extra help to like half the group of people, and the other half don't even get that offered to them at all, and see if there's any difference in those two groups. Here, everyone was offered the 500, so there's no comparison group to see